What if I told you that the ancient Stoics, those solemn figures who supposedly rejected all worldly things, actually understood the power of money better than most of us do today? We're often taught that money is a corrupting force. But what if the Stoics saw it as the ultimate tool for being a good person? This is the story of how people like Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, squared his philosophy with his fortune, and what he can teach us about what wealth is truly for. Meditation 1. The Great Stoic Contradiction. When you picture a Stoic, what comes to mind? Probably a stern, disciplined person, totally indifferent to pleasure or pain. You might think of Epictetus, a man born a slave who taught that real freedom is internal. Or maybe you picture Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who, despite being the most powerful man on earth, constantly reminded himself to live a simple, humble life. The popular image is one of rejecting worldly things to find inner peace. But that picture gets complicated when we bring up one of Stoicism's biggest names, Seneca the Younger. Seneca wasn't just a philosopher, he was a political advisor, a famous playwright, and a mentor to Emperor Nero. He was also, by some estimates, one of the wealthiest men in the Roman Empire, with a fortune that would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. So, how does a guy who writes endlessly about virtue, self-control, and the dangers of desire end up with that kind of cash? His critics, both back then and now, have been quick to call him a hypocrite. They ask how you can preach about embracing poverty while living in a palace. And this isn't just a historical inconsistency, it's a direct challenge to Stoicism itself. So was Seneca a massive hypocrite? Did he fail his own philosophy? Or is there a deeper, more radical idea about money in Stoicism that we've all missed? Meditation 2. The Secret. Wealth is neither good nor bad. To solve this puzzle, you have to understand the Stoic secret to money. It all comes down to a core concept called indifference. The Stoics believed that in life, only two things truly have moral value: virtue, which is the only good, and vice, which is the only bad. Everything else, your health, your reputation, your social status, and yes, your money, is considered an indifferent. These things aren't inherently good or bad. That's a revolutionary idea. In a world that often treats net worth as self-worth, and the Stoics declared that money has zero impact on your actual character. You aren't a better person for being rich, or a worse person for being poor. But the Stoics were also realists. They knew that not all these indifferent things feel the same in real life. So they split them into two categories: preferred and dispreferred. Health is preferred over sickness. Freedom is preferred over slavery. And wealth is preferred over poverty. Not because wealth guarantees happiness. The Stoics were very clear that it doesn't, but because it's a useful tool. Think of it like fire. Fire isn't good or bad on its own. It can warm your house and cook your food, or it can burn everything to the ground. The morality isn't in the fire, it's in how it's used. For the Stoics, money is exactly the same. Seneca put it perfectly when he said that wealth is the slave of the wise man and the master of the fool. And that's the key. The Stoics didn't desire wealth for luxury and status. They understood that if a rational, virtuous person was in charge, wealth wasn't a danger. It was a powerful resource. The goal wasn't to get rich, but to be the kind of person who could handle being rich without becoming its slave. Meditation 3. Wealth as the ultimate tool for virtue. So, if wealth is just a tool, what's it for? For a Stoic, the answer is simple: to practice virtue on a grander scale. The four cardinal Stoic virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Having money doesn't make you virtuous, but it can amplify your ability to act virtuously. Let's start with justice. And the Stoics believed in sympathia, the idea that all of humanity is interconnected, like bees in a hive. What's bad for the hive is bad for the bee. So a huge part of justice is contributing to the common good. A person with little can act justly in their daily life, of course, but a person with significant resources, they can enact justice on a massive scale. This is the Stoic ideal, using your resources not for yourself, but to protect and serve the collective. This brings us to wisdom and courage. Wisdom is knowing what's truly good and bad, and courage is acting on that knowledge, especially when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the need to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane, breaking free from the irrational, often meaningless pursuits that society pushes on us. While he wasn't talking just about money, the principle applies perfectly. Use your resources with reason and principle, not just for profit. But the most important virtue here is temperance, or self-control. This is where the Stoics' discipline really shines. They believed you should never get attached to your wealth. To train for this, Seneca practiced what he called voluntary poverty. He would spend a few days living on the cheapest food and wearing his roughest clothes, and then ask himself, "Is this what I was so afraid of?" He wasn't rejecting his wealth. He was rehearsing its loss. By proving to himself that he'd be fine without it, he broke its power over him. He made sure that he was the master of his money, not the other way around. Modern figures show us what this looks like. Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia, he gave his entire billion-dollar company away to a trust designed to fight climate change. A perfect example of putting the hive before personal profit. And Warren Buffett, despite his massive fortune, lives a famously simple life, which allows him to give away staggering amounts to charity. They are modern proof of an ancient principle. Your wealth is most powerful when you aren't attached to it. Meditation 4. Modern application. Your money, your virtue. So how can we use this ancient wisdom, even if we're not billionaires? The Stoic view isn't about how much you have, it's about how you think about what you have. First, separate what you can and can't control with your money. Focus on your savings rate, your spending habits, and your financial knowledge. Stop stressing about what you can't control. The stock market's daily swings, in a sudden recession, or what your neighbor just bought. That shift alone cuts down on financial anxiety and helps you act rationally. Second, figure out what enough means to you. The modern world is designed to make you want more, always. But as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. When you know how much is truly enough for you to live a good life, you can step off the endless treadmill of chasing more. Third, start seeing your money as a tool for your values. Whatever you have, it has power. You can use it to support a local business, donate to a cause you love, or help a friend who's struggling. Every time you spend or invest, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. Make that choice on purpose. And finally, try a little voluntary discomfort. You don't have to wear rags, but maybe try living on a stricter budget for a week, or skipping a luxury you usually take for granted. These small acts of self-denial build resilience and prove that your happiness isn't tied to material things. It loosens the grip that money can have on your mind. In the end, the Stoics didn't secretly want to be rich for comfort or status. They understood that wealth, when used with virtue, is an incredible tool for freedom and positive impact. It's a preferred indifferent, not because it makes life good, but because it gives you the power to do good on a larger scale. The apparent contradiction of the wealthy Stoic disappears when we realize the goal was never to have money. The goal was to be indifferent to it, to master it, and to use it for virtue. And the real challenge they leave us is to look at our own finances and ask, am I the master or am I the slave? As Seneca wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. True wealth isn't what's in your bank account. It's the freedom to live a life of character. If this exploration gave you a new perspective, consider subscribing for more insights into ancient wisdom for modern times.